welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating. Brilliant Abdu's follow-up work, The Headset You Almost Had, Never Give Up.
Yeah, and this isn't just, your standard self-help book on resilience.
Not at all. It digs into this single, really specific moment that the author says completely flipped their world upside down.
Yeah.
We're talking about a huge, fast life change.
Exactly. The sources we're looking at, they document this, well, almost explosive transformation, a real shift in confidence, opportunities, access. And it all apparently traces back to one observation, one tweak in mindset. The claim is life changed dramatically after the first book came out.
Right, and these sources supposedly lay out the how and the why of that internal pivot.
That's the core of it.
So our mission for you, the listener, is basically twofold today. First, we really want to nail down that specific, maybe even seemingly small, trigger moment.
The one that unlocked everything for the author.
Yeah, the moment they identified what they call this inherent human weakness of giving up too soon. And second, we need to unpack the philosophy behind how this book is actually distributed. It's pretty unique, a kind of gift economy.
It really is. It raises questions about value, doesn't it? What's the real cost if it's not money?
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So this whole philosophy, this big shift, it starts with a surprisingly simple observation involving the author's one-year-old nephew.
Right. It sounds almost trivial on the surface, but for the author, it was profound. It changed their whole view of, well, us, human nature.
Tell us about that specific event. It seems kind of counterintuitive that this would be the big turning point.
Okay, so the scene is this. The author, Abdu, is basically teasing his little nephew with a headset, holding it just out of reach.
Okay, a common enough thing to do with a kid?
Sure. And the little guy, he wants it, really wants it. All that intense, focused desire a one-year-old can have.
I can picture it. Total focus.
Exactly. But the author deliberately holds back, just delays giving it to him, waiting to see what happens, how that frustration plays out.
And this is the crucial bit, right? The insight comes from the nephew's reaction.
Yeah. After just a short while of really wanting it, the kid just stops. He gives up. The desire just evaporates.
Okay, that happens. Kids lose interest. But there was more to it.
Yes. This is the part that really struck the author. When Abdu then actually tried to give him the headset, pushed it towards him.
Yeah.
The nephew refused it. Actively turned away. It wasn't just losing interest, it was like the effort itself had soured the object for him.
Wow. So quitting led to aversion. The desire wasn't just gone, it was like negatively replaced.
That's how Abdu interpreted it.
Yeah.
That refusal was the key. He saw it and boom, the insight hit him.
Which was?
That from the very beginning, we are born with the weakness of giving up too soon. It's not something we learn later in life. It's like an innate default setting. We hit friction, frustration, and the instinct is just to quit.
So the biggest barrier isn't usually the external thing, the actual difficulty. Yeah. It's this internal mechanism, this refusal switch that gets flipped.
That's the argument. It reframes quitting completely. It's not always a rational adult choice. Sometimes it's this deep, almost pre-programmed flaw we have to actively fight against.
That really changes the perspective on persistence, doesn't it? It's not just a nice-to-have virtue.
It makes it essential. A survival skill, almost. Abdu realized that if you don't recognize and consciously override this tendency, you end up living a life of almosts.
Regret for the things you stopped pursuing just a bit too early.
Exactly. The turning point wasn't some big success. It was understanding this mechanism of failure, often self-imposed by quitting just shy of the mark.
Okay, so that's the insight. Powerful stuff. But let's talk about the impact. The text jumps from this observation to, well, pretty dramatic real-world changes.
It does, and that's the pivot point, really. How did recognizing this internal weakness translate externally?
What happened when the author consciously decided not to give up, based on this headset moment? How fast did things actually change?
Well, the sources claim the shift was almost immediate,
Yeah.
incredibly rapid. Yeah. The author says once that internal mindset clicked, once they committed to just keep reaching, their confidence totally transformed.
Okay, confidence is one thing. But tangible results. You mentioned Dubai Fashion Week earlier. That sounds huge. And fast.
Right. The claim is, in just 2 days in Dubai, they were somehow part of Dubai Fashion Week.
Wait, hold on. 2 days?
Yeah.
From what? How does the source explain that jump? Was there some groundwork laid we don't know about?
That's what's interesting. The source doesn't really detail logistics. Instead, it emphasizes what didn't change. Meaning, the author stresses they didn't suddenly gain new skills or money or connections. They say they didn't succeed because they had something others didn't.
So the access point wasn't external?
Apparently not. It was the internal shift, the sheer persistence, just relentlessly contacting people, putting themselves out there, refusing to take no or even silence as the final answer.
So the theory is that the persistence itself, born from that headset insight, opened doors that were maybe already unlocked, just needed pushing.
That seems to be the implication. The barrier wasn't the lock. It was the hesitation to keep trying the handle. Self-limitation was the real obstacle.
That is a pretty radical claim. It repositions where the real work needs to be done inside your own head.
Correct. And it wasn't just Fashion Week. The author also talks about connecting almost instantly with people they'd only seen on social media before.
High-profile people.
Yeah, and also brilliant minds in different fields, film, trading, you name it. These weren't gradual connections. They were immediate, high-level interactions.
Gained simply by changing the internal belief about deserving to be there and the willingness to keep reaching out.
That's the narrative. It wasn't about luck, according to the author. It was about persistence finally aligning with opportunities that were closer than previously thought.
They actually say, if we accept to keep reaching without assuming we know the outcome, we discover that what we prayed for was already closer than we thought.
Yeah, it flips the script, doesn't it? Usually we blame external challenges.
Right. But here, the ultimate pitfall identified is internal. Too many people quit at the very moment their breakthrough is about to happen.
They stop just before the finish line, maybe because of that innate give-up mechanism we talked about.
Okay, so the biggest hurdle is psychological. But maintaining that kind of relentless effort, especially when things get tough, that requires some serious inner fuel, right? A strong framework.
Absolutely. And the author grounds this persistence in quite a profound spiritual concept.
This is where the religious aspect comes in more explicitly.
Yes. The author attributes the book itself, the whole insight, as Allah's blessing, stemming directly from that moment with the nephew.
So the faith framework isn't just background belief, it's presented as the source of the core lesson.
Exactly. And it directly informs their view on things like suffering and adversity, which, connects back to why you wouldn't give up when things get hard.
How does that work? How does faith translate into, say, getting into Dubai Fashion Week? It seems like a leap.
Well, the idea presented is that the faith provides the stamina. It's not passive belief, it's the engine for the action. It reframes the entire experience of difficulty.
Okay, explain that reframing. The author talks about suffering.
Yeah, they assert that people were created for a good reason, fundamentally not to suffer.
So if we experience suffering, it can't be pointless.
That's the logic.
Yeah.
Therefore, any pain, any setback, it must be viewed differently. It needs reinterpretation.
This is the hidden blessing idea you mentioned.
Precisely. The belief is that what feels like suffering or hardship may actually be a hidden blessing.
That's a challenging perspective to maintain when you're actually going through hardship.
No doubt. It requires a radical kind of trust and gratitude. But the author suggests that if you can recognize hardship this way, see it as a necessary beneficial step, then you could potentially spend every day smiling. Because nothing is truly bad in the ultimate sense. It's just part of a larger good plan.
Wow. So genuine gratitude, not just for the good stuff, but for the struggles too. How does the author suggest someone actually does that in the face of real adversity? Is it just positive thinking?
It seems deeper than just positive thinking. The source implies the tool is the constant awareness of divine purpose, connecting it to the bigger picture.
Okay.
The courage to keep reaching comes from the certainty that the whole journey, struggles included, serves a higher, ultimately good purpose. The pain is temporary, part of the process.
The suffering has meaning, so you endure it, you keep going.
That's the core message. It provides the why to keep pushing when that innate give-up instinct kicks in.
All right, this philosophical underpinning, this deep faith, it leads us directly to a very unusual way the author decided to distribute the book itself, announced September 19, 2025.
Yeah, the distribution method isn't just practical. It's like a living embodiment of the book's core message.
How so?
Well, first off, the ebook is now free, totally free.
Okay, free ebook. Lots of authors do that for promotion. What's unique here?
The condition for getting it. It's not just clicking a download link. It's a transactional gift, but the transaction isn't money.
What is it then?
You have to personally DM the author. And not just any message. You have to send the exact words.
Right.
Brilliant Abdu, I am grateful for everything Allah, God, does for me. Whether I see it as good or bad, I am truly grateful.
Whoa. Okay. That's specific.
Right. You have to actively declare acceptance of that core philosophy that even the bad stuff is something to be grateful for before you even get the book explaining it.
So the price of admission is adopting the mindset. You pay with your perspective.
Exactly. It forces a moment of reflection and active agreement with the premise. It's like an activation key based on gratitude. The real barrier isn't cost. It's your willingness to embrace that viewpoint.
What about the physical book? The hard copy?
That still has a price, but the author is really clear about why.
Not for profit.
Nope. They state the price is solely so I can print more copies to share. It's purely for covering printing costs to get more physical copies out there.
Like reinvesting directly into sharing the message.
Yeah. And they even hope to make the hard copies free eventually, saying, Inshallah, when I have the means.
So even buying the hard copy isn't framed as a typical purchase.
Not at all. The author explicitly defines it as gifting it forward to someone else. You're not buying a book for yourself. You're funding the next copy for another person.
It ties back to the idea that the core insight, like that moment with the nephew, is fundamentally priceless.
Precisely. You can't put a dollar value on that kind of perspective shift, so money's role becomes purely about propagation, not profit. Sharing the priceless.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, we've had a few key takeaways, haven't we?
I think so. First, there's the surprising power found in observing something really simple, like a child giving up on a toy.
Yeah, that observation led to this idea that maybe we're all kind of hardwired to quit too soon, and recognizing that is the first step.
Second, the potential for immediate, real-world changes when that internal mindset shifts. The Dubai example is striking external opportunities seeming to appear rapidly once internal resistance drops.
The idea that maybe the opportunities are already there, waiting for us to just keep pushing.
And third, the underlying framework needed to sustain that push. This philosophy of active, radical gratitude.
Right, the belief that you need to be grateful for everything, the good and the perceived bad, seeing hardship as a necessary, hidden blessing.
Which brings us back to the book's distribution. The author makes you declare that gratitude just to get the free ebook.
Yeah, that insistence raises a big question, doesn't it? It implies the biggest hurdle isn't learning the how-to of persistence.
But actually accepting the premise that allows for that persistence.
Yeah.
Accepting that suffering has a purpose.
Exactly. If you haven't made that leap, if you can't genuinely state that gratitude for everything, then according to this philosophy, you're potentially blocking yourself.
Blocking yourself from what?
From seeing the hidden blessing, from pushing through that final moment of difficulty right before the breakthrough. The life you want, the connections, the success. It's hidden by the unwillingness to embrace the struggle as part of the gift.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to consider. Something provocative.
If this idea holds true that recognizing hardship as a hidden blessing is key, and that giving up too soon is our default weakness.
Then what specific thing, what action, what goal are you maybe giving up on right now?
Yeah, what are you turning away from, just like the nephew turned away from the headset right before it was actually offered to you?
Worth thinking about. Go back to the source material, explore these ideas, and, as the author says, keep reaching.